You ever have a moment where your entire reality hits a wall at 90 miles an hour? No brakes, no warning? Yeah, that was me, standing in the doorway of my own bedroom, watching my twin brother bang my wife. Let me back up. That morning felt off from the jump. My name's Jace Weller, 36, project manager in Denver. Boring title, stable job. The kind of guy who pays his taxes early and holds the door open even when people don't say thanks. I've been married to Marley for 6 years, my high school sweetheart turned best friend turned betrayal I didn't see coming. I woke up with a headache, pounding behind my eyes like a drum line, my chest tight. I figured it was just stress. We had some rollout coming up at work, and I'd been clocking too many hours. I dragged myself through half the day before I said, screw it, and went home early. I didn't tell Marley. I figured she'd just be curled up on the couch, burning through another true crime doc like always. Maybe candles going, her art crap spread all over the coffee table. Instead, I walked into the kind of silence that makes your skin itch. No smell of her lavender oil diffusing, no soft music playing, no hey babe from the couch. The air felt wrong. Off, like I'd stepped into someone else's house. Then I saw it, a leather jacket on the back of the dining chair. Not mine, not hers. It was Camden's, my twin, my goddamn twin. If you've never had a twin, let me paint the picture. People assume it's cute. It ain't. It's a mirror you're stuck with for life. Same face, same voice, same damn DNA. But Camden? He was a version of me that refused to grow up. He bounced from gig to gig, lived off charm and debt, told stories that made him sound like a mix of Elon Musk and James Dean. My parents called him a free spirit. I called him a walking dumpster fire in designer boots. He'd always had a way of popping up uninvited, acting like he belonged. So at first, I told myself maybe he just dropped something off. Maybe he borrowed a book or is lazy as needed tools again. But my gut was already screaming. Then I heard it, Marley's laugh. Soft, breathless, intimate, coming from upstairs. I froze at the bottom of the staircase. Tried to reason with myself. Maybe they were watching a movie. Maybe he was just visiting and said something funny. I wanted to believe that. I needed to. But I knew. You always know. Deep down. As I climbed the stairs, her laugh gave way to sounds. Wet. Rhythmic. Ungodly. My heart jackhammered against my ribs. I was sweating. Cold and clammy. A pressure in my skull like my brain was trying to escape my body. And I opened the door. There they were. In my bed. In the bed I bought. In the room I'd painted. On the sheets we picked out together at Target, like a normal married couple trying to build a damn life. Cameron was behind her, grinning like he just hit the jackpot in Vegas. When he saw me, he smirked. Not startled. Not ashamed. Not even a shred of regret. That smug bastard smirked like he'd just beat me at some sick game we'd been playing since the womb. Everything inside me went silent. Not empty, just quiet, numb. I didn't scream, didn't swing, didn't collapse. Instead, I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, aimed at dead center, and pressed record for 10 full seconds. Then, calm as hell, I said, I just sent the video to your wife. That smirk melted like butter in a microwave. Camden jumped off the bed, scrambling for his phone. Jace, what the hell, man, he started, but I was already walking away. I didn't even look at Marley. Didn't need to. I heard her gasp, heard her whisper, no, 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 please, as if prayer was going to help now, as if she hadn't invited this rot into our house. By the time I made it downstairs, I could hear Camden's voice echoing behind me, desperate and cracking. He'd gotten Tessa on the line, his wife, the only woman who ever put up with his lies long enough to marry him, and she was not buying it. I could hear her screaming through the phone from halfway across the room. Is that Marley? Is that your brother's wife? Camden tried to talk, tried to lie, but Tessa was unhinged, and honestly, I was rooting for her. I leaned on the banister, listening to him beg, his voice breaking like a man realizing the house of cards he built just caught fire. Upstairs, Marley was sobbing now. Good. She should, because I gave her everything. Every ounce of loyalty, support, love. I worked long hours so she could start a little online shop. I skipped vacations to pay off her student debt. I stood by her side when she lost her mom, when her art shows flopped, when she thought she wasn't good enough. And this was how she repaid me? She didn't trip into Camden's lap. She invited him into our lives. She smiled at his jokes. She poured him drinks. She let the devil get comfortable. I sat down in the living room, watching the shadows shift on the walls, listening to the chaos above me. Camden yelling, Marley crying, phones ringing, hearts breaking. But me? I was still, clear, focused. When they finally came downstairs, both pale and hollow-eyed, I stood and faced them. You, I said to Camden, just burned your whole damn life down. And you? I looked at Marley. You don't get to cry. Not in my house. Camden opened his mouth, but I shut it fast. Save it. You're not my brother anymore. He flinched. You're just a piece of shit who finally found a way to lose everything. Growing up with Camden was like playing a game you never signed up for, with rules that changed every time I started winning. From the outside, we were just two brothers, identical twins, even. People loved to romanticize it. You must be so close, they'd say, eyes lighting up like we were walking magic tricks. Do you ever switch places on dates? They'd ask, like that crap was funny or original. They didn't see the war behind the smiles. I was the boring twin, the one who did his homework, followed through, made plans. Camden was chaos wrapped in charm. Girls loved him. Teachers tolerated him. And our parents gave up trying to discipline him after middle school. He could lie with a straight face and cry on cue. And me? I was the guy cleaning up after the hurricane. The resentment started early. He couldn't stand being second to me in anything. When I made varsity, he started a rumor that I was juicing. When I got a scholarship, he trashed my acceptance letter out of jealousy. When I started dating Marley, he smiled, shook my hand, and told me I finally picked a winner. I should have known. That look in his eye, it wasn't approval. It was challenge. The night I caught them still felt like a hallucination. I kept replaying in my head like a looped nightmare I couldn't escape. Every detail burned into my brain. The arch of Marley's back, Camden's hand on her hip, the way he looked at me like he was the one doing me a favor. He smirked like he'd won. And maybe, in that moment, he thought he had. Because Camden didn't just want what I had. He wanted me to watch him take it. But he didn't know who he was playing with anymore. 2 days passed after the explosion. 2 long, slow-burning days where I didn't answer his calls. Marley tried to text once. Just a, please talk to me. I didn't. I couldn't. Instead, I was sitting in Clara's driveway. Clara, Camden's wife. Now ex-wife in spirit, if not on paper. We weren't close before, but after the video, we had one thing in common. A shared betrayal by the same 2 people. She opened the door, red-dyed but composed. Her voice didn't tremble. You want to come in? I nodded. Her place was quiet. Too quiet. Like grief had stripped the sound from the walls. We sat at the kitchen table. Both of us wrapped in a silence that wasn't awkward. It was heavy, like sitting in the aftermath of a car crash, still waiting to feel all the injuries. She poured 2 glasses of whiskey. No ice. You didn't have to send me that, she said, but I'm glad you did. I wish I never had a reason to. Clara exhaled, slow. You know what's messed up? She asked. Part of me always knew. Not with her, but someone. He's always been one wrong glance away from blowing it all up. I nodded. Same with Marley. I didn't see the signs. Or I did. I just wanted to believe she'd never go there. Clara leaned back in her chair, looked me in the eye, and said something I'll never forget. They didn't cheat on us, Jace. They cheated for each other. Goddamn. That line landed in my chest like a hammer. Because she was right. It wasn't just betrayal. It was connection. Built in the shadows. Stitched with every stolen glance. Every lie they told with a straight face. Every fake smile they gave us while playing each other in secret. This wasn't a mistake. It was a long, slow mutiny. That night, I couldn't sleep. I just lay there in the guest room Clara offered, staring at the ceiling, trying not to hear the echoes in my skull. Camden's smirk, Marley's moan, Clara's voice. They cheated for each other. At 3:04 a.m., I got a text. Camden, we need to talk. Please, you're still my brother. My vision went red. I called him. First time since everything. He picked up instantly. Jace, thank God, listen, Shut your mouth, I said. You ever call me your brother again, I swear I'll make sure you lose more than just your marriage. He went quiet. Then, weakly, she meant nothing, man, it just happened. We were both lonely. You were always busy. I laughed, a short, bitter bark. You think this is about being lonely? You think I was so busy I handed you a hall pass to screw my wife? I didn't plan it, he shouted. It got out of control, okay? I messed up. You planned this the second you walked into my house and stayed too long. Look, he tried again, voice cracking. I lost everything, okay? Clara's gone. I'm staying at a motel. My job might fire me. What more do you want? I leaned into the silence. Let it stretch. Let him squirm. I want you to feel every second of it. Then I hung up. A week later, Camden showed up at our parents' place for Sunday dinner. I'd already called them, told them everything. Mom cried. Dad said nothing, just poured himself a drink and stared out the window like he was rewinding every memory of us as kids and wondering where he went wrong. So when Camden walked in like a dog looking for forgiveness, he got met with silence. He tried to hug Mom. She stepped back. He looked at Dad. Dad said, "You're not welcome here." Camden's face cracked. "You're choosing him over me?" "No," Dad said. "I'm choosing decency over you." I've never seen Camden speechless before. But that day, he didn't say a word, just turned and walked out. And Marley, she tried to come back. 3 days after I filed the divorce papers, she showed up at my door. No warning, no text, just her hoodie pulled over her head, clutching some photo album like it was a shield. "Jace, can I come in?" I didn't say yes, didn't say no, just stepped aside. She walked in like a ghost of herself, pale, shaky, eyes red like she hadn't slept in a month. "I'm not here to beg," she whispered. "Good." She sat on the edge of the couch, placed the album on the coffee table. I didn't open it. I don't know how it got this far. She said, "You were so good to me." And I threw it all away for her. She couldn't even say his name. "You know what hurts?" I said, "It's not just what you did. It's how normal you acted while doing it. You kissed me goodnight while lying next to my brother in your head." She sobbed, loud, broken. "I hate myself." I stared at her, empty. "I don't." She looked up confused. "I don't hate you, because hate means I still feel something. But you're nothing to me now, and I want you to carry that weight. Forever." She left crying, album still on the table. I never opened it. That night, I burned it in the backyard fire pit. Every page, every photo, every lie. You ever stare into someone's eyes and realize they were never who you thought they were? That's what it felt like watching Camden fall apart. Watching Marley break down like a girl who suddenly realized a fire she lit had torched her own damn house. But me? I was just getting started. After I burned the photo album Marley left behind, our memories, our wedding, her fake-ass smile frozen in ink, I didn't feel sad. I felt clean, like I'd scrubbed the rot off my skin. But the thing about rot, it spreads. And I knew I hadn't dug deep enough. Not yet, because there were still people, mutual friends, co-workers, family, who didn't know what really happened, who still thought Camden was just a charming screw-up and Marley was some sweet, misunderstood, free spirit. Nah, not anymore. It was time to take the mask off. For both of them. First, I crafted a message. Not a rage rant. Not some emotional cry for pity. No, it was a cold, surgical truth bomb, written out word by word, emotionless. Just facts. Hey, if you're getting this, it's because you knew me, Camden, or Marley. I wanted you to hear it from me. I walked in on my wife in bed with my twin brother. I recorded it. I sent it to his wife. She left him. I filed for divorce. No drama. No revenge. Just facts. If you were wondering why I cut people off or change my number, now you know. I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm cleaning house. Then I hit send. To everyone. Her friends. His friends. Our old college crew. My co-workers. Camden's old business partners. Even our goddamn aunt in Wisconsin. Let the ashes fall where they may. I expected chaos. And chaos I got. Marley called 6 times that night. I let it ring. Then I blocked her. Camden? He showed up. Big mistake. He banged on my door like he owned the place. I watched him through the peephole. Disheveled, desperate, drunk maybe. Hoodie half-zipped, hair greasy, eyes bloodshot. I didn't open. He pounded harder. Jace, come on, man, we need to talk. Nope. You think sending that message fixes anything. You're ruining my life. I unlocked the door. Just a deadbolt. Then slowly opened an inch. Just enough to let him see me. Not enough to walk in. You already ruined your life. I said flatly. I'm just handing out the flyer. You made this public. Do you have any idea what you've done? Yeah, I said, voice like steel. I finally leveled the playing field. His fist clenched. You always thought you were better than me. You always proved I was. Camden stepped back like I'd slapped him. His mouth opened, then shut. He had nothing. Finally, I slammed the door in his face. Later that week, Clara invited me out for a drink. I didn't want to go, but she insisted. I need this, she texted. You probably do too. She was right. We met at a dive bar on the edge of town. The kind with sticky floors, cheap whiskey, and enough noise to drown out your thoughts. Claire was already at the booth, sipping something brown and mean. I sat across from her. How's hell? She smirked. Messy, beautiful, chaotic, just like vengeance should be. We toasted in silence. After a few drinks, Clara leaned forward. You know, I had this dream the other night, that I walked into my house, and Camden was begging on the floor. Not for forgiveness, for food, like he was homeless, starving, and I had a steak in my hand. What did you do? She smiled cold. I fed it to the dog. We both laughed, not because it was funny, but because it should have been real. 2 weeks later, Camden's world started to crumble for real. Turns out Clara had receipts. Financial ones. He'd been using their joint accounts to fund some half-baked crypto startup behind her back. She handed everything over to her lawyer and filed not just for divorce, but for fraud. Camden's assets? Frozen. His car? Repossessed. Job? Gone. They didn't want his name tied to scandal. He went from private gym memberships and leather jackets to sleeping on his buddy's couch and begging for rides. I heard about all this from Clara, who kept sending me updates like little gifts wrapped in fire. You're gonna love this, she texted one night. Attached was a photo, Camden in a grocery store parking lot, working DoorDash. I almost felt bad. Almost. But then I remember the way he smirked in my bedroom. The way he grabbed Marley's hip like he owned her. The way he looked at me and dared me to break. Nah, let him suffer. As for Marley, she was crumbling slower, quieter, but just as surely. I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a handwritten letter. Jace, I don't know how to say this. I know I hurt you. I know I don't deserve anything from you. Not your forgiveness, not your time. But I wanted to tell you that I never stopped loving you. Not even when I was doing the thing that ruined us. I was broken. I didn't know how to ask for help. I was lonely. Camden filled a space I should have filled with honesty. I miss you. I miss us. I'm sorry. Marley. I stared at the page. My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't race. I felt nothing. That's when I knew I was healing. Because guilt is a shovel. But forgiveness? That's a door. And she wasn't walking through mine ever again. The final straw came when I got a call from our mom. I just got off the phone with Camden, she said, voice shaky. He's in real trouble. Yeah, I said. I know. He said he might hurt himself. I'm worried. I closed my eyes. I didn't want this. I didn't want him dead. I just wanted him humbled. Tell him to get help, I said. But not from me. Jace, you're still his brother. No, I said, I buried it the day he betrayed me. Click. You don't need a shovel to bury someone. Sometimes all it takes is truth and patience. Camden wasn't dead, but he was no longer alive in the parts of my world that mattered. And Marley? She was a ghost when I refused to chase. But the hardest thing wasn't losing them. It was realizing I never truly had them to begin with. My mom kept calling after that last conversation. Left voicemails I didn't bother listening to. They always said the same thing. He's still your brother. You two shared everything. Don't let this destroy you both. But what she didn't get, what nobody seemed to get, was this wasn't sibling rivalry gone too far. It was war. And Camden started the day he crossed the one boundary he swore he never would. A few nights after the letter from Marley, I went back to the house for the first time in weeks. Not to stay, just to collect what was mine. The house felt like a crime scene. Every creak in the floor, every framed photo like evidence. The couch where we used to binge-watch movies burned into my memory now as a place I sat in silence, while upstairs they were ruining everything. I didn't want to touch anything. I wanted to burn it down. But instead, I grabbed what mattered, my passport, my journals, a box of old keepsakes. And then I went upstairs to the bedroom one last time. The bed was gone. She took it. That part made me laugh. Of course she did. Take the thing you soiled. Start over somewhere else with it like it never meant anything. But on the dresser, I found something I wasn't expecting. A small, cheap ring box. Inside, my wedding band. She left it behind. There was no note, no apology, just that cold circle of gold, staring back at me like it had its own damn heartbeat. I didn't cry. I put the ring in my pocket and walked out, slamming the door hard enough to shake the dust from the walls. Clara called me that night. "You okay?" she asked, voice low, like she already knew I wasn't. "I'm breathing," I replied. "You file for full divorce. No alimony. Just want him erased." We were quiet for a moment, and then she asked, "Do you regret anything?" I thought for a second. "Yeah," I said. "I regret not seeing them for who they really were sooner." A few days later, the unexpected happened. Camden showed up at my job. Middle of the day. No warning. I saw him through the office window, wearing the same hoodie, looking like a stray dog begging for scraps. He didn't ask to come inside. He waited outside like a man finally understanding where he stood. Against my better judgment, I went out. 2 minutes, I said, walking over. He looked up, eyes ringed red. "I'm not here to fight." "Good. You'd lose." He swallowed. I've been thinking about everything." I crossed my arms. Didn't take long. "You were real quick in my bed." That hit him like a bat. "I'm sorry, Jace. I mean it. I don't know how to fix any of this." "You don't?" He nodded. "I've lost everything." I leaned in, quiet but cold. "No, Cam. You didn't lose everything. You gave it away for nothing. For 10 minutes of feeling like you were finally better than me." He blinked, jaw tight, like he wanted to argue but couldn't. "You think you broke me?" I continued. "You didn't. You freed me. From you. From her. From every ounce of guilt I carried trying to protect a brother who never gave a damn unless he was in second place." Camden exhaled. Shaky. "Do you hate me?" I didn't blink. "No," I said. "Hate would mean I care. But I'll never forgive you." He looked like he wanted to cry. Maybe he did later. I wouldn't know. I turned to walk away. But then he called out, "I still dream about the day we both got our bikes for Christmas. Remember that?" I stopped. Of course I did. We were 8, snowed in. Our parents couldn't afford 2 fancy bikes, so they gave us one each. Mine was red, his blue. We raced them around the block for hours. That was before the lies, before the jealousy, before everything cracked. I remember, I said without turning. "Back then, I really did look up to you. Too bad you burned the only bridge you ever had." I walked back into the building. I didn't look back. That was the last time I saw Camden in person. 2 weeks passed. I signed the final divorce papers. No alimony. No property split. No drama. Just my name. Clean and alone. Clara did the same. And one night, we met up again, not at the dive bar, but at the lake. The place where Camden proposed to her, apparently. Funny how things circle back like that. We stood on the dock in silence. Two people stitched together by the same wound. You know what sucks? Clara said, they don't even have each other anymore. They fell apart? Imploded, she said. Last I heard, she threw a drink in his face and moved out of wherever they were crashing. He called me drunk, crying. I blocked him. I smirked. Good. They deserve each other, Clara added. No, I said. They deserve nothing. And they're getting exactly that. Later, as we sat in the truck, watching the lake shimmer under the moonlight, Clara asked, what now? I thought about it. Then I pulled Marley's wedding band out of my pocket. I'd kept it, even after everything. A reminder, I guess. I tossed it into the lake. It hit the water without a sound. And just like that, gone. I turned to Clara. I think we start living again. She smiled. For real this time. There's a strange stillness that sets in after the chaos dies down. Not peace, not relief, but hollow silence that wraps around you like smoke from a fire long extinguished, leaving behind the ghost of heat and the memory of what burned. For weeks, I drifted in that silence, floating between days without really living them, going through the motions of work, of meals, of sleep, as if waiting for something to break again just to remind me I was still here, still capable of feeling something other than the dull weight pressing on my chest. I didn't tell anyone what had happened with Camden at the office that day, how he showed up looking like a man who'd finally tasted the flavor of rock bottom and found it bitter, how his apology came too late, too hollow, too easy, like a child returning to a toy they broke years ago and expected to be whole again. Because the truth was, I wasn't angry anymore, not in the way people expect you to be when they hear your brother slept with your wife. I wasn't fuming. I wasn't throwing punches or shouting at walls. I was simply done carrying the burden of someone else's choices, done being the older twin who fixed things Camden ruined, done pretending that Marley was anything more than a beautifully wrapped lie I'd built my life around. And in that emptiness, something began to shift, not healing, not yet, but something honest, something that didn't require explanation or apology. It started small. I deleted old photos, not just of Marley, but of us, the version of me who tolerated too much in the name of love, the man who gave second chances like candy, who thought loyalty could fix disloyalty, that forgiveness was some noble hill to die on. Then I started taking walks again, long ones, without direction, just to feel the wind hit my face and remind myself I wasn't stuck inside a single story, that the world was still spinning. Even if mine had cracked at the core. I stopped checking social media entirely. Didn't want to see where they were, or who they were with, or whether they tried to scrub their sin from the timeline like digital bleach could erase what they'd done. They were ghosts now, and I don't chase ghosts. Clara and I kept talking. Not every day, but often enough that I stopped counting time by betrayal and started marking by connection, the kind that wasn't built on pain but understanding. We met for coffee sometimes, or walked through old neighborhoods we both knew but never shared, and there was something comforting about that. Two people rebuilding from the same wreckage, but laying new foundations without rushing to build something romantic atop it. There were nights we'd talk for hours about childhoods, music, failures, the things we loved before we gave too much of ourselves to people who didn't deserve us. And during those conversations, I remembered what it felt like to be seen without conditions. She never asked for details unless I offered them, never judged the weight I carried or how long I chose to carry it. And that, in itself, was a kind of healing I didn't know I needed. One evening, I got a message from a mutual friend I hadn't heard from in years, someone who'd been at our wedding, someone who once said Camden and I were the dream team. The message read, "Hey, man, I just heard what happened. I can't believe it. I'm sorry." No offer to talk. No fake sympathy. Just that. And I realized that was enough. I didn't need people to pick sides or rally behind me or validate the hell I'd walked through. I just needed them to know. To understand that what Camden did wasn't a mistake. It was a calculated betrayal, a choice made with full knowledge of the damage it would cause. And he did it anyway, not because he didn't care, but because for once in his life, he wanted to feel like he had something that was mine. But he didn't win. That was the most twisted part of all. He thought sleeping with my wife would give him the upper hand, that it would finally tilt the scales and put him above me. But all it did was reveal how pathetic he really was, how desperate he'd become to scrape together an identity from the crumbs of my life. And Marley? She didn't trade up. She just imploded sideways. Last I heard, she was working retail in a dead-end outlet mall outside of Boulder, renting a one-bedroom with a leaky ceiling, telling people she was focusing on herself while dodging rumors that she'd already hooked up with one of Camden's equally dysfunctional friends. They weren't speaking anymore. No dramatic fallout, no final fight. Just distance. Like even they couldn't stomach the version of themselves they created together. Their connection had evaporated under the heat of reality. There's a moment after betrayal where you finally stop asking why and start asking, what now? That moment came to me one Saturday morning, standing in my backyard barefoot, sipping coffee, staring at the empty garden bed where Marley used to grow herbs she never actually used. I put the mug down, grabbed a shovel, and started digging. Not because I needed to, but because I could, because I was still here, still standing, still strong. I spent the whole weekend tearing up that space, clearing roots, pulling weeds, leveling the ground. And by Sunday night, I had planted something new. Not flowers, not vegetables, just a simple sapling. An oak, the kind that takes years to grow, the kind that starts slow and small and unremarkable, but with time becomes something unshakable. Later that week, Clara came by. I showed her the tree. She didn't say anything at first, just looked at it, then at me. Finally, she smiled. That's going to be strong one day. I nodded. It already is, I said. Some stories don't end with explosions. They end in silence, in calm, in the sound of your own breathing after months of chaos, and realizing you're still here, still alive, still you. It had been nearly a year since I walked in on them. Camden and Marley, twisted in sweat and sin, in the bed that once meant trust and vows and the stupid dream of forever. And now that memory was a scar, not a wound. Still there, still ugly, but no longer bleeding. I didn't think I'd get here, not back then. Not when I was staring down at my brother mid-thrust, hearing my wife moan in betrayal, feeling my stomach hit the floor. I thought that moment would define me for the rest of my life. Turns out it didn't. It refined me, burned away the parts of me that tolerated less than I deserved, exposed the people who didn't love me, only used me, taught me that sometimes survival doesn't come from being strong. It comes from finally letting go. Camden tried one more time. About 3 months after I planted that oak sapling in my yard, the one I water every other morning like a ritual, like proof that things can grow from wreckage, he sent me a letter, handwritten, no envelope, just folded and shoved into my mailbox like a confession from a dying man. It said, "Jace, if you're reading this, it means I ran out of ways to say sorry. I've lost everything. My wife, my friends, my money, you. And honestly, I deserved all of it. I don't expect forgiveness. But I needed you to know, I see it now. I spent my life chasing your shadow instead of becoming my own man. And when I finally took something from you, I realized too late that I'd taken the only thing keeping me human. I hope you're okay. I hope you build something beautiful. Cam." I read it once. Didn't cry. Didn't feel much of anything. I folded it up and tossed it in the fire pit out back. Not out of spite, out of mercy. Because some things just need to burn. As for Marley, I haven't heard from her since the day she left my ring behind like it meant nothing. I think she got the message. Maybe through the divorce papers or the silence, or the way I never gave her a second thought in public. Even when I saw people who used to be our friends. She faded like a summer breeze, gone before winter came. But not everything ended in ash. Because some people stepped in when the smoke cleared. Clara and I never rushed anything. We gave each other space. Time, room to heal. But healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means making peace with the fact that you'll never get answers that make it okay, only the choice to stop needing them. One day, months after fire in my life had gone cold, Clara and I sat on a park bench, drinking coffee as the sun cracked open a late spring sky. She was quiet, watching the breeze move through the trees. I was thinking about nothing and everything. And then she said it. "I think I'm ready." I turned to her. For what? To stop letting them live rent-free in my head. I smiled. "About damn time." She nudged me with her shoulder. "You ready to?" I looked at her. Looked at the way she smiled like she'd earned it, because she had. Looked at the way I felt around her, calm, unburdened, real. And I nodded. "I'm already there." We didn't kiss that day. Didn't rush anything. But something shifted, like the beginning of something that doesn't need fireworks to be meaningful. Just truth. Just peace. The last thing I did, before I closed that chapter of my life for good, was sit by the oak tree in my yard, now a few feet taller, its young leaves rustling like they were whispering secrets to the wind. I sat there with a beer in one hand and a future in the other. Not a plan, not a destination, just space. Space to become whoever the hell I wanted to be, without a brother dragging me down and a wife pretending to love me while planning my ruin. And in that moment, I finally, truly let go of the rage, of the grief, of Camden, of Marley, of the old version of me who thought loyalty meant sacrifice and love meant surrender. So here's how the story ends. My brother took my wife, so I took my life back, and I built something better, without him, without her, and without the lies. The fire burned out, but I didn't. I just learned how to shine without the flame.